so we will proceed with our December 19th, 2018 Board of Finance meeting. First item on the agenda, roll call. Tom Sinkowitz, Ted Dumaine,
Yes.
Travis Irons, Don Cavella,
Yep.
David Saros. And excused absence from the meeting is Gary Stallavoyne, Scott Charlwood, and Scott Gardner. All right, Dave, for the record, you have voting rights, of course, for this meeting. All right, number 2, acceptance of the minutes from the November 28th, 2018 meeting. Minutes have been sent out, and distributed to the members. Any questions, discussion?
I move we accept them.
Very good. I have a motion to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries to accept the minutes from the November 28th, 2018 meeting. All right, next under new business, first item, looking at our 2019 meeting schedule. One thing to note on here is that due to the 30-day notice that's required for the dates being posted, one item is the January 16th, 2019 meeting that we're proposing. So that would actually be classified as a special meeting as opposed to a regularly scheduled meeting. That's also the time when we are hopefully going to be looking at reviewing and approving the audit, because as of today, the audit was not ready for review, otherwise would have been on the agenda for this evening. So that special meeting has to be a special meeting, again, for the notice, but also in looking into our audit, which will be ready, of course, before then. The other thing to note is that on these calendar dates is January 15th, 2020, so we don't actually run into that situation again of having to have a special meeting in 2020. We put the January 15th, 2020 date down now under this calendar and approve it, assuming it gets approved, and then we would be good for that January meeting in 2020. Other than that, all the other dates are regularly scheduled meetings.
They're all Wednesday dates, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm. Third Wednesday, 6:30 here at the town hall.
I move we accept the schedule.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the 2019 monthly meeting schedule. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting schedule for 2019 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve the 2019 meeting schedule. All right, item B, review the current fiscal year budget statement, 2018-2019. Kathy, one question that I had, and maybe you can answer this. that come up, I just wanted to clarify. As I know at one of the Board of Selectmen meetings, it was discussed about the grant money that's going towards the annex, and that money would be coming from contingency?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so that amount being 20,000 initially would actually end up only being 10,000?
Yes, and it's not, the grant is not, I said approximate 20, it's under $20,000 and it's a 50-50 grant. So the town puts in 50 and the state puts in 50, so.
I don't see anything out of line. I move that the budget statement be accepted as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the budget statement as presented and a second. If there is no other discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very well. That concludes the review of the current fiscal year budget statement, 2018, 2019. And next item is citizens' participation. Any citizens' participation?
I do. I'm Don Tetreault. I assume you received the letter. And I was really upset when Mr. Dumaine made a statement that I'll reread it. This is a letter of response to the Board of Finance meeting that occurred on November 28, 2018. During the meeting, without any regard for seeking the fact before speaking out, a member of the board, Ted Dumaine, assaulted my good name and character. At that meeting, he asked if I was supervisor at Building and Ground. First Selectman Kathy correctly stated I was not added to her knowledge. I have never been given the added responsibility. Despite this statement, Ted Dumaine attacked me personally by saying I took the pay but never did the job. It was far easier for him to slander me in public than seek the truth of the matter. I expect a public apology from him for tarnishing my good name. When Ron Roberts spoke at the meeting, he stated that Joe Tetreault had been the supervisor. When he retired, Ron said the first selectman, Paul Sweet, took him aside and asked him to take on those duties Joe Tetreault had been doing. He also said Paul told him he was going to change his position and give him an extra salary. Ron also indicated time passed, he had no increase in his pay because it was no longer in the budget. According to Paul, it was apparent that Ron waited for over a year for an increase in which the salary which he never received. Despite saying he was unaware of what Paul told me, he said that he found out I was getting money. He felt it didn't seem fair for someone else to get paid for something he did. In regard to Ron Roberts' claim, I did not know what was transpired between him and the former first selectman. If all three of us had been in the present together at the meeting, these misconceptions could have been avoided, and it does not seem that Ron had any much response to resolve on the pool as it came to resolve on Myron leaving. I can only tell you that Paul Sweet told me simply, put it, I would not be responsible for the building and grounds department employees as he was going to handle it. These are the facts. When Joe retired at the end of August 2016, I took on the added responsibility of crew chief in addition to my position as a payroll operator. This was expected to be a temporary position until the hired superintendent was hired. During this time, I was expected to take all the responsibility of a supervisor and add this to my regular job. Some of my responsibilities were as follows. Number one, to be called on 24/7. Number two, to supervise all the higher department employees, 8 to 9 of us, and in any addition to part-time employees during a snowstorm, which is 6 or more. 3, to delegate the assignment to these employees on a daily basis. 4, do time cards. 5, to see that overtime was equally distributed to those qualified to maintain a record for overtime for equalization purpose. To post accrued overtime record in an area convenient to the employees and to update these records every 3 months. 6, to work with other Plainfield department, police department, school department, ground and maintenance, recreation department, etc., and to assist them whenever was necessary. 7, to maintain public relation with the resident of the community, addressing and resolving the concern and/or complaint as pertaining to the roads and the drainage. 8, to purchase supply material when necessary. 9, to maintain the road throughout the year, especially during the winter months, as pertaining to icy conditions and snow removal. 10, to encourage a safe and work environment. 11, to be contacted with the marshal and help with the conviction. 12, to stay within the proposed budget of the highway department. 13, to maintain and improve and keep approximately 120 miles of paved roads in safe traveling conditions, to include cleaning waterways, patching holes, repairing, replacing signposts, sweeping roads, maintain box cover and catch basins, and maintaining guideposts, mowing road grass to the name of field. 14, to cut limbs and brush, including working with them Eversource to remove hazardous trees at no cost to the town. 15, to maintain the Little League field whenever it was needed. 16, to mow smaller cemetery with one in Black Hill as needed. 17, to pick bag leaves up in the autumn. 18, to repair and replace mailbox damaged by the plow. 19, to put up and take down hundreds of flags throughout the 4 towns of Plainfield, to provide signs during the Plainfield Pride Day, to put up and remove detour signs for the annual VJJ parade, to place signs and help traffic control during triathlon, and to put a detour sign by the Moosa Pump before Memorial Day, and to move them around Labor Day for the bus to pick up the students on the road. 20, to help with the summer youth program, I did this more and I did to my regular job as a payloader operator, but I was not responsible in anyone in the building and ground. If I had been, I would have been acted to call. I would have expected them to call me when they were sick. I would have expected them to call me during vacation time. I would have been expected them to call me when they're out on a workman comp, and I expected them to do their time cards. I was told to assist the department whenever necessary and to fulfill the obligation of numerous times. When Kathy was requested a salary for Ron, she spoke how dedicated he was and deserving for a pay increase. She said he was doing an additional job of getting the money or having a title for the work. However, since she did not praise me for my dedication for doing long years of 49.5 service, to bring the fact I have no title on the Plainfield Highway Department website, despite doing the job of a department head addition to my job as a loader operator. In fact, I was surprised Kat referred me as the other person, as the person getting paid to do a job she was not doing. If she felt I was not doing my job, she should have asked me why not. She should have been having me with me and Ron to determine what situation it was and move forward from there. Anyone who believed that I took the money and did not do my job, whether it's Ted Dumaine, Kathy, or Ron Rabbit, for any other reason, I know I did my job well. Thank you.
Any other citizens' participation? Yes.
I'm Alice Cody Tetreault, I'm Donald's wife.
Just go up there so you can hear you back.
I don't want to forget anything, so I'm reading off my paper. I realize that members of the Board of Finance have a responsibility and a right to know how money is being spent, just as the taxpayers have a right to know where their tax dollars are going. However, members of a board or individuals do not have the right to malign a person without any facts or evidence. Where Ted Dumaine got his information, or from whom, I do not know. But I do know he had the responsibility to verify those so-called facts before he recklessly accused my husband of taking money for a job he allegedly did not do. In a small town, word spread rapidly. Put it on a YouTube video and it is a wildfire out of control. His words have injured the reputation of a hard-working man who has devoted his entire life to the Plainfield Fire for Plainfield Highway Department. It was 49 and a half years on December 2nd. Because my husband had often filled the job of crew chief's position when Joe took his vacation or used his sick time. When Joe retired, Donald agreed to take on that position temporarily. He was told by the former first selectman that he would not be responsible for the few employees working for the Building and Grounds Department. Although Donald considered filling out an application and sending in his resume for the position of Highway Superintendent to the Finance Director by the September 9th, 2016 deadline, he did not. And no one was ever hired. One only needs to take a look at that position. And I have it right here if you're interested in it. But you just need to take a look at that. So, to realize the person who would have filled that position would have not had the responsibility of overseeing those few employees at Town Hall either. Therefore, why would one person who is already doing his job as a payloader operator and taking on an additional job as crew chief be required to do more? My husband did both jobs. On several occasions when he came home from work, he told me that Paul Sweet told him he was doing a good job. He was very proud of that because my husband has always taken great pride in his work. Coming from a large family, getting ahead meant having a good work ethic to better yourself. And every one of his brothers and sisters are hardworking people who have done just that. For those of you who do not know my husband, I can tell you he is a workaholic. He is up at 5 o'clock each morning and he works non-stop all day. Besides spending time with his family, especially his grandchildren, his happiest moments are those that he spends time working. He sees his work as an extension and a reflection of himself. From the time he took over to the present, he has been diligent in carrying out the duties of crew chief. Every Sunday he has done time cards on his own time without compensation. On numerous occasions, he has met with residents of the community to address their concerns who were unable to meet with him during the regular hours of 7 to 3:30, and he has done this on his own time without compensation. On numerous days, he has worked through lunch because a task wasn't done, and he has done this on his own time without compensation. He has used his own vehicle to check the roads for tree limbs, water, potholes, to be sure they were safe for travel, and he has done this on his own time without compensation. When Kathy fell at Town Hall, Sarah was unable to contact Ronnie, so she called Donald, and Donald left his farm doing his chores, came down to Town Hall with Stan to address the problem, and he has done this on his own time without compensation. He has received calls at all hours, on the weekends, on holidays, and even on vacation. And he has tried to resolve the issues presented, and he has done all this on his own time without compensation. So when anyone says he was getting paid and not doing his job, it simply isn't true. In my opinion, he wasn't paid enough. Making an accusation without verification is an assault on him. This Ted Dumaine did, and he did it publicly. Next, there is Kathy Tetreault. My husband has spoken highly of her, and he said they work well together. He has told me many times he tried to do every job to the best of his ability for himself, for the community, and to make his work be a good reflection on whatever selectman was in office at the time. During the questioning of that November meeting, Kathy Tetreault acknowledged that Donald was never given that added responsibility. But by the end of the discussion, she referred to him as a person getting paid to do a job he's not doing. This I find very confusing. Although many people realize that some politicians speak out both sides of their mouths, there can only be one truth. Either he did the job or he didn't. If my husband wasn't doing the job, it would have been her responsibility to remedy that situation immediately. Her failure to address that situation says more about her than it does him. If she had met with both Ronnie Roberts and Donald, there would have been a better understanding of what had been said to them before she took office. The problem could have been resolved immediately. The lack of communication is at the very root of the situation. And finally, there's Ronnie Roberts. He admits he did not know what Donald and Paul Sweet said to each other. Likewise, Donald did not know what Paul told Ronnie. Each believed the other knew what had been said. Again, the lack of communication was the cause and the confusion of the problem. On one hand, Donald was told he did not have that responsibility of supervising that department. And on the other hand, Ronnie believed he was going to be compensated for taking on more work. I can understand his dissatisfaction for not getting an increase in his salary, for getting an increase in his workload. But I cannot understand why he waited over a year for a raise he was promised. And I cannot understand why he believed if Donald wasn't doing just one aspect, one little part of the many things that a crew chief is responsible for, and which isn't in the superintendent's job, why he thought he was doing Donald's job. The truth is, Donald was doing his job, and it did not include supervising the building and grounds department employees. The truth is, Ronnie was doing extra, but he wasn't doing Donald's job. I am angry, and I am sad. I am angry that a hardworking and dedicated man has been slandered. I am angry that this good and decent man's name has been dragged through the mud. Not because the allegations were true, but because some people didn't think it was necessary to find out whether they were or not. And I am sad this was allowed to happen because of a lack of communication. I am sad that someone who expected an increase in salary didn't speak up sooner. And I am sad that my husband, who has always dreamed of working 50 years in a town he loves and he calls home, will retire 5 months short of that achievement because of the stress it has been on him and on his family. What should have been the happiest days of his life just before his retirement are forever tainted because some individuals thought they knew the facts when in reality they didn't. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Tom, I would
Yep.
like to,
Yes,
first
Kathy.
I want to say that Donald has always been a hard worker in the year that I've been here. Him and I have always worked well together. I apologize, Donald, for anything that was misinterpreted. I said to you in the beginning of the meeting that you were never given those responsibilities, so I apologize for anything that was miscommunicated. You and I have worked well together, you're a hard worker, and if you recall the conversation that you and I had, I said, please, Donald, do not let a person's comment dictate your happiness in you being here. Please let me call Ted in, we will sit down and discuss it, and you told me you didn't want to. So I apologize from the bottom of my heart to you, Donald. I had no intentions to ever undermine you or hurt you. So, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. One comment I have is an idea that came up on a different subject was with having some newer Board of Finance members tour the police station was a thought that came up. And so, Chief, I wanted to ask you, since you just happen to be present in the room, is that something possible that the Board of Finance could arrange a tour of the department?
Yes, we did that approximately 5 years ago for members of the Board of Finance. We'd be more than happy to do it again. Obviously, you know how to communicate with me. If you'd like to send me an email, call me, whatever you need. You tell me the date and time, and we'll come up with that. And more than welcome to do that for you.
Okay.
And any questions you may have.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
If you have to ask to apologize, Ted,
Pardon me?
Public comment. This is public comment.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was allowed to on the public
Ted, do you have public comment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good.
Donald, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Actually, I meant that to be a question, not
Let
a
me get close
statement.
so I can hear you better.
I apologize. I did not mean that to be a statement, it was a question on my part. I wanted to know.
All I know that you knew me better for a long time, and I always did my job, and like I said, you should know me better even to think about stuff like that, but no, you had to go over and open your mouth up because it wasn't right. And I'll accept the
can do what I
apology,
can
and
do.
that's it. Goodbye.
Ted, are you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other public comment? If there is no other public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
Okay, do I have a second? Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.